So I got this Aaron Judge signed ball. But no, it's not real. It's actually imprinted there, so it's fake. But actually what it is, it's half a baseball. But not only is it half a baseball, it's also a bottle opener. So what happens is you take it off the fridge and you go like, thank you, Aaron Judge. Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, Judge reaches the 50 home run level, and of course now with September just around the corner here, is he going to hit maybe 60 or 70? Is he going to press at the plate like he did back in 2022? We'll look into that whole situation, and of course early September means we have call-ups. Again, the roster expands to 28 players, and we'll see what two players the Yankees kind of bring up there to start the beginning of the month. You kind of figure one of them's going to be Jason Dominguez, but again, we'll speculate at that. And of course, we'll look at Jazz's back and Jazz Chisholm Jr., who we thought we might have lost the rest of the season to the UCL strain there. Look, he's right back on the field there, so we'll kind of just give a little look at the early return there, just getting him back on the field there. And of course, we'll look back at the Yankee old-timers there. I know it's gone past, but kind of interesting of who was there versus who wasn't there. And of course, the whole story came up with Brett Gardner kind of currently ghosting the Yankee organization in recent years. And last but not least, we'll look at maybe what could be an Achilles heel for the Yankees if they do get into the postseason, which is the bullpen. We'll kind of focus on that because Cashman's been making moves the entire season and it really hasn't stopped. So we'll do a check-in on the Yankee bullpen as well. So a lot of good stuff for you. Got a whole month left. And plus, of course, before you know it, we'll be in the postseason. Look, unless something terrible happens, the Yankees are going to be in one way or another, whether they're AL East champions or one of the wild card spots that will take a monumental collapse. And I don't think the Yankees will do that. So nevertheless, we'll have some more episodes as we get into the playoffs as well. So a lot of good stuff. Want to make sure you subscribe to the audio podcast version of the show so you know you're watching it, you're loving it. But if you want to get more frequent content, more frequent updates, more frequent rants by me, of course, go wherever you get your favorite podcast. Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast, and here on YouTube. Should have done it already. Subscribe there, get notified new episodes go up. And if you're watching on TV, whether you're in the Bronx, Brooklyn, or just happen to be streaming somewhere on Mars, make sure you go to YouTube as well as the podcast area, wherever you get your favorite podcast. Subscribe, get everything. So as you know, Aaron Judge has been an absolute tear lately. I mean, I'm going to be shocked, pitchers are actually pitching to him. But of course, in that final game against Colorado at home, he hits 2 home runs, number 50 and 51. And of course, with a handful of games left in August, and of course, with the whole month of September, I mean, at least right at this point, there's 30 games left for the New York Yankees in the regular season. Very good chance that Aaron Judge is going to not only chase his own 62 home runs that he hit back in 2022, but then maybe a whisper, is he going to challenge the Bonds 73 home runs, which he hit back in 2001? Now, look, let's break this whole thing down. First of all, obviously, probably a very good chance that he's able to maybe match and as well surpass his 62 from a couple of seasons ago. Yes. Do I think he's going to be able to challenge Bond 73? No. I mean, there's 30 games left. I mean, you would have to almost like hit a home run almost just close to almost every game left in the season, or have a couple of games where you did what he did in the Colorado game, hit 2 home runs there. And as the season's going along, I just don't think that's going to happen. A couple of things you got to consider here. Number one, I just don't think a lot of pitchers are going to pitch to him. I mean, if you look at sort of the end of the month of September, I know there's a lot of, you have the Orioles series there, but there's also a lot of games against like the Pittsburgh Pirates and stuff like that. But overall, still, I don't think anyone's going to be willing to give up like any big pitches to him. So I just think a lot of people are going to pitch around him, kind of give those like intentional, unintentional walks, unintentional, intentional walks, however you want to call them. Even if 2 outs with the bases empty, they'll walk them like you saw a couple weeks ago against the Toronto series there. So I just don't think Judge is going to get enough pitches to hit to do that. And plus, as the pressure comes down there, I just think everything considered there, I just don't think Judge is going to be able to challenge Bonds to 73. And really, what's annoying about the whole thing is that if you remember back in April, Judge got off to a horrible start of the season. So he didn't even need to have a good start of the season. If he just had a mediocre start to April, and then what he's done afterwards, pretty much, since that game, remember he got tossed out for the first time in his career by an umpire. Ever since then, he's just been an absolute tear there. So if he just had a decent or mediocre April, then maybe you could have had a conversation where maybe he'll be in position to challenge Bonds at 73. So I don't think that's going to happen, but I can see him approaching the 62 and maybe going to surpass that. Now, you might think, also you got to consider as well, look, if the Yankees are kind of winding down a little bit and look for a playoff berth and a playoff run, is Boone going to have to be under pressure now to sit him down a little bit? Now, I know he has the option of DHing him a little bit to get him off his feet, but you also got to consider as well, yes, you have 30 games, but Boone's probably going to want to get him some rest here and there because you want him fresh. What's the most important of all is the playoffs there. So you got to consider that as well, that he might not get a lot of pitches to hit, but also, is he going to play all those 30 games? He's probably going to want to, but you also got to make sure, give him his proper rest, just before you want him nice and fresh for a playoff run, which again, that's more important than a home run record. And probably a lot of people see really what he did a couple of years ago as the real single season home run record. This, of course, obviously Barry Bonds, people, put the little asterisk next to him with all the PEDs and stuff like that. Now, you might say also, is Judge going to press? We saw what happened in 2022 as he got closer to 60, 61, 62. He was definitely pressing. I mean, he basically got out of his game. All the stuff, the success he had up to that point, which was being disciplined at the strike zone, not swinging at bad pitches. As the pressure got on, as he got closer to number 60 and 61 there, you saw it definitely took a toll on him. He was doing unjudged-like things. He was swinging at the first pitch. He was swinging at bad pitches. You definitely see the pressure got to him. Is that going to happen this time around? I think definitely not. I think he learned his lesson from last time. And plus, really, it just makes no sense anymore. I mean, he holds the American League record right now for the most home runs in a single season with 62. So, let's say he ends up at 63, 64 is a really big deal at that point. He already has the record, so I don't think he's going to be competing against himself and getting himself out of whack and pressing stuff like this to beat his own 62 there. I don't really think he cares much more. I mean, he kind of slayed the dragon by doing that. Now, by some small miracle, if he's up against Bond's 73, will you see him press like he did maybe in 2022? I would say no. Now, will he press a little bit more? Yes, of course, because obviously it's 73. It's the record, or even with the Bonds asterisk there, you see there's more on the table there. But still, I think he learned his lesson from last time, and I don't think it's as important to him as it was, again, because a lot of people see his 62 as the real record, just because, again, they don't like what Barry Bonds did with whatever the clear, the cream, whatever he used back in there in 2020, 2001 there. So even Judge is in that position to do so. I don't think that's the case. I think Judge learned his lesson from last time. I think, obviously matured a little bit. Not that he was immature then. And I don't think he was being selfish then. I mean, look, he got caught into the moment. Everyone wanted him to do it. And basically every telecast, they would break away from the game just to see his at-bat. Anytime MLB Network, ESPN, they all cut away to go to Judge's at-bat. Obviously the fans with the phones out, the cameras flashing every pitch there. You have Roger Maris and the family are following you all around. I mean, you can understand the pressure Judge was under. It will not be that case this time. Again, even if he goes past the 62, it's not going to be that much pressure. Even if he goes up against Bond 73, it might ratchet up a little bit, but I don't think that much. I think what Judge did 2 years ago kind of slayed that dragon, so I don't think it'll be a big deal. And plus, look at this Yankee team. There are some deficiencies, and we'll kind of get into the bullpen a little bit later, but I think Judge really sees the situation at hand here. Look, you got Soto. Who knows how long this is going to last? I mean, hopefully they re-sign Soto after the season, but there's no guarantee. So, I mean, this might be a really good shot here, and I don't think Judge wants to let anything get in the way to blow it. I don't think he got out of his game. And what happened, the bad part of 2022, yes, finally he did get the 62 home runs, but, the sloppiness and the pressing and the bad habits he picked up in April to get to that carried over into postseason. I know the Yankees got past Cleveland, hit like a home run in that series, but, he was not the same player. And, of course, the Yankees got wiped out by the Astros in all 4 games. And even the final at bat there, fittingly, Judge made the last out. And again, even the last game, fans were booing Judge, which is incredible. I mean, he has an MVP season, hit 62 home runs, but again, he carried all those bad habits and pretty much a non-factor in the playoffs, and the Yankee faithful were booing him then. So I think he's looking to avoid that. So I don't think he'll get out of his game. I think this time is a much better situation. And I think if you're a Yankee fan, you don't really want to root for him that maybe challenge the 73. I think you just rather him let the season play out. If he gets near 60, fine. If he ends up 65, fine. But I don't think you want him in a position where he's going to be challenged at 73 and get all that nonsense back what we had 2 years ago. I just don't think it's worth it. Right now, Judge sees his team. I think he's focused on Soto here. You got Cole here still, and this team intact. It's not the greatest right now, but it's probably better than the Yankee teams of the past 2 or 3 seasons there. It's a real shot there. So, again, I don't think Judge is going to let it get into his head this time. Well, Jazz Chisholm Jr. is back with the Yankees, as you know. Avoided the knife again. He had that situation where he slid into Chicago there, strained the UCL, and of course, early on, there was talks that he was probably have to get the Tommy John surgery, and luckily, he was able to just get rest and recovery and kind of really be on his back on his feet almost as soon as he was done off the IL. I mean, he was like, yeah, as soon as the IL is done, I'll become right away, which you figure that's not the case, but actually kind of was, so it was a shock there. And of course, back at third base, and of course, hitting with the Yankees, which is most important there, because again, he was kind of a bit of a lively bat. We know what he could do there, and plus, he just want him as a weapon. He's versatile. He could play the infield as well as the outfield. And, when the Yankees do get into the postseason, which they definitely should do, obviously the manager and Boone is going to use some strategies in a situation where you have to maybe move him around. So, instead of having to take him out because he can only play infield, he's flexible where he can play maybe center field if the case, opens up. Hopefully it shouldn't be the case. But nevertheless, you like to have a guy like that. And of course, he has the energy. He is a little over the top. Again, he gives his team a little thump. Again, he has a good attitude so far. Again, the fans seem to like him. Again, he's a bit of a character there. So again, for him to go down like that, just by sliding into home a game against the lowly Chicago White Sox with a bit a downer there. So looks like he's back. Kind of has to prove himself, offensively, just to see if he's back as well there. But in that Colorado series where he played, went 2 for 10, which is great, but did smack an RBI double, so a little sign for life there. So let's see, he could use this month of September sort of get back in the swing. Kind of been a bit of a streaky play. Again, made a good first impression with the Yankees, and then kind of went quiet a little bit. Then he bounces back a little bit with his home runs. They seem to come in spurts there. But again, good news is to have Jazz back. So as you may know, September 1st, the rosters expand. As I mentioned in the opening there, it goes from the 26 that you have during the regular season now, and of course this last month now expands to 28. Now, there's a few little bit caveats with that. You could only have a maximum of 14 pitches with that, so the rest have to be position players, and they kind of just don't want you to cheese and use that, because then you can have a bit of a merry-go-round there, especially with your bullpen. They don't want that, so it's a maximum of 14 pitches there. So generally kind of figure like you'll have maybe one extra pitcher, because usually most teams carry 13, and then you have one position player, and it's kind of, figure who's going to come up with the Yankees. Now, obviously, probably no brainer. I think they were looking to bring up Jason Dominguez, so you can figure he'll be one of those two of the 28. And then you can speculate it's definitely going to be a bullpen arm. Who that other person's going to be, we don't really know yet. And of course, after this segment, kind of look at the Yankee bullpen a little bit closely there. And this was a rule Major League Baseball put in place, because remember back in the day, basically you'd be able to expand the roster to 40 players, and it was kind of ridiculous. I remember when Joe Girardi was the manager, he hated it. He used to complain about it because basically, first of all, your bench is absolutely filled. I mean, like you got guys almost sitting on each other's laps, is kind of crazy enough. But of course, with that, really a manager could almost have like a new pitcher every inning there, or you could be substituting players left and right there, and you take a game which should only be about 2.5 hours, you could expand that to 4 hours, and especially when you get to like middle to late September, when you have, in a lot of cases for a lot of teams, is meaningless baseball. You have like a 4-hour meaningless baseball team, because you got to have a conga line of players that's coming in and out there. So that's why kind of they decided to reduce this now to only 28 players, where you really can't do that, and it kind of gives a few guys a little breath, a little breather, which again, you want to rest players up, especially those teams that are gunning for the playoffs. And again, since they've updated the playoff, the brackets there with the 2 wildcard teams, more teams are now involved in the playoffs. So you get more teams for opportunity to rest their players if they gear up some for these postseason runs there. So again, you can speculate who it is, but you can figure, Jason Dominguez, of course, he came up during the final, the Little League World Classic game there, so just made a brief appearance there. So he got that in the belt before September 1st, so he'll be eligible to come in. So expect him to be one of the players, and then the other position play or other spot is definitely going to go to a bullpen arm, almost guarantee it. Which brings us to the Yankee bullpen, which is probably, we're going to see, the Achilles heels of this team right now, especially entering the playoffs. Remember, the Yankees had a good run there, going from like 2017 to even up to the 2020, the COVID-shortened season there. You pretty much had 3 guys in the back of the bullpen. It would be, Green, Chad Green, Zach Britton. Now, Zach Britton spelled his name a little differently the first name, but nevertheless, and of course Chapman. I know Chapman, you want to beat him up like that, but at least that threesome there, it was pretty dependable overall, and the Yankees were able to ride that there, and again, you felt a little bit more confident in that versus what we have this current Yankee team, especially. So you got a lot of unproven guys, and of course we know Clay Holmes with his problems. Again, right now, 10 blown saves, leads relievers right now. Again, some of those weren't his fault, but some of those were his fault. Again, I like him overall. I'm okay with him as the closer. I mean, I don't know what other options the Yankees really have. I don't think he's garbage, and I don't think he's as bad as we saw maybe the past year, the last final 2 years of Chapman here, when he used to have his meltdowns on the mound. As bad as Clay Holmes has been sometimes, he hasn't been as bad as some of those Chapman meltdowns, with the sweat coming down and going a little crazy there. So nevertheless, though, if you look at this Yankee bullpen, though, it's something that Cashman really hasn't been able to perfect. I know he's brought a lot of guys up and down, and of course the latest victim is Mike Tonkin, who had a little good run with the Yankees and kind of lasted a little longer than I thought he would, but eventually even he got DFA'd, sent him down and brought up another format, and that was Phil Bickford, who the Yankees had up here for a brief cup of coffee. He got slammed, they sent him back down, so he's up here right now. But again, it's been a merry-go-round this whole season there. But if you look at the Yankees' options in the pen there, it's going to be a little worrisome, especially if you get into the postseason. I mean, you have a lot of guys that don't have experience in there. Again, good arms, they got good stuff. You can get some good strikers like that, but can they do this in the postseason? And again, a lot of these guys don't really have a resume for the most part, or or, again, a little longer in the tooth. And again, we can just go down the list here. Of course, we know what Holmes, I mentioned his problems. Now, again, in the 2022 run there, Holmes wasn't terrible. I mean, they bought him out for a handful of situations, and he got through with them. Now, he also had the bad shoulder at the time, so they weren't pitching him a lot. Again, Boone was hesitant to pitch him 2 days in a row. Again, Holmes is healthier this time, so I don't think that'd be the case. So, again, I'm okay with Holmes as the closer, but, of course, he's going to make you hold your breath. You know he's going to do that. And then we go down the line there. Of course, we have the combinations of, like, the Luke Weavers of the world, Mark Leiter Jr., Jay Cousins. Again, all three of them got good stuff. Again, Luke Weavers having a really good season for the Yankees, but, are you going to trust him in a postseason situation? I don't know. Now, when the Yankees a couple of seasons ago threw Loizaga out there in the postseason with no experience, he was fine. He was great. He was stupendous, which is why you kind of wish he still had Loizaga because we lost him at the beginning of the season. Yes, but can those three guys come in and get big outs in pressure situations? I don't know, man. Not much experience there. And then, of course, we know Tommy Kahnle. Okay, fine. Kahnle's been here. This is his second cup of coffee. Again, is his stuff as good as it was a couple of seasons ago? No. Does he have the fastball he does have a couple of seasons ago? No. But I think he's still decent to get outs. But, he's more of like a 6th or 7th inning guy. I mean, I don't know if he's going to, the pressure's on. Can he get some big outs in the 8th there? Or if the game goes in extra innings, do you trust him in extra innings there? Probably not there. And you kind of have to be worried about that. And, of course, we have the veteran Tim Hill, who the Yankees got off the scrap heap. Now, look, Hill has some good experience. Again, he came up with the Royals there several years ago when they had that little run there with that group there. But again, that was a while back, and it's a little bit of a different Tim Hill than that time there. So again, is that someone you can really trust in a big spot there? I don't know. You have to hold your breath there. So, not a lot of good options for the Yankees now. Lurking in this back there, in the shadows in the background, in the minors there, which again, this has to do with the extra players being called up. You do have both Rob Marinaccio, who's up and down the Yankees, and overall for the Yankees when they have him up here, he does well just because he has options. They end up sending him down, but can he get some big outs in the postseason? I don't know. Again, not much of a resume to work with there. And of course, that leaves us with Scott Efros, who we've been waiting for the whole season. He's been in the minors for quite some time. Now, the reports is that the Yankees aren't too happy with his fastball. Supposedly his velocity is not up to where it was in 2022 when they got him here, and that's kind of why you haven't seen him yet. And if that's the case here, it doesn't look like he's going to maybe be able to join the team in September. And if that's the case, why would you put him on your postseason roster and put him there in a big spot when he's had like no work this season on the major league level? So it looks like of the two, you might see Marinaccio before you see Scott Efros there. So if you look at this Yankee bullpen there, a lot of guys with no experience there, and you have to kind of be worried about that. And, of course, you have Clay Holmes, who, again, he's had his problems this season. Some of it's his fault, some of it's not his fault. And that kind of brings us to the X factor, and that's Luis Gil. Now, he's right now currently on the IL with the lower back problem, but he's a guy when he comes back, even September, I don't think they're going to make him a star. I think they're going to throw him right in the pen, make him sort of a bullpen, jack-of-all-trades type of a guy. Hey, he could come in, throw 3 innings. He could come in, throw 1 inning, or maybe he could come in and blow one batter away in a big spot there. Again, he has the stuff. He's throwing about 98, 99, 100 there, so he's that type of guy that could do it. Now, he has to come back from this back injury and be okay and pass the test there, fine. But I think Luis Gil is going to kind of be the X factor there, where I think you're going to put him probably more over than any of the other guys there. Now, Clark Schmidt, of course, is also working his way back there, and he's comparable, and he's the type of guy I think once everything gets back, he's probably more suitable to join the rotation. Obviously, you probably want to move Will Warren out of there, put Clark back in his spot, who he was doing well before he went down ultimately. Now, Clark could also, look, he has a little experience as well. The Yankees used him in the 2022 postseason, so I don't think he'll be overwhelmed, but he's not like a blazer that comes in there and blows guys away like Luis Gil can. So, yes, he is an option to throw in there, but again, he's not a guy that just locks you down, shuts you down there. So, I don't know how much he could do out of the pen as well there, but Luis Gil will definitely be the X factor. You just have to hope he comes back healthy. As a follow-up to a very important story we broke last time, that was Verdugo's rash on his hands there. Well, it looks like it's all gotten solved. Again, this had to do with his Franklin gloves, and some of the chemicals in it was giving a bad reaction, and he kind of had this rash and blisters on his hands, which he would kind of have to tape up and then put the glove over it. And, of course, that can't be comfortable. And we kind of went through his numbers last time. Again, power RBI kind of on par with his career, but his batting average kind of almost like 30, 40 points below his average there. So obviously it had to be affecting it. So good news, he finally got a pair from Franklin. This came right from the Franklin company, and it got delivered to him the day of, actually, Old Timers Day of all days there. And he put them on and paid dividends. He hit the whole ball hard a couple times in that game, but did have 1 home run in the 4th inning to show for that. So it does obviously look like the hands were affecting him. And of course, this makes sense there. How can you back like that with your hands all taped up and stuff like that? So So they solved the problem. Again, he had an allergic reaction to the chemicals in the gloves. Got him some new gloves from Franklin, put them on. It looks like he's hitting, and that's good news for him. And of course, again, he's probably going to be competing for some bats with someone like Jason Dominguez floating around there. So, at least now it gives him a fighting chance versus before. I mean, he's had some spurts there where he's just looking really bad there. But, lately now he has hitting the ball better, so you can see that. So, good news like that. Now, he still has some remnants of the rash and blisters left, but that should really maybe phase out. And then hopefully by mid to late September, he can have some normal hands again. And speaking of Old Timers Day, which is kind of become more of a big photo session, kind of a high school prom or a kind of high school reunion there versus back in the old days you used to actually play a game on the field there, which kind of missed that. And I think a lot of it had to do with because maybe Derek Jeter didn't want to play and look dumb and look bad, which I understand he's the captain, or at least the old captain there. You don't want to see him like striking out of his shoes or blowing a ground ball there. But nevertheless, I would like if the Yankees to go back to that, hopefully do at some point. So, but nevertheless, this is a big photo session. But what I got all the hoopla over that headline was not who was there, but who wasn't there. And of course, the story comes out with Brett Gardner, who apparently has been basically ghosting the team since he left them back after the 2022 season there, because he was a little bit cranky at the time that he felt maybe that he had a little bit left in the tank, and the Yankees kind of more or less they bought out his contract and let him walk away. And I guess there's a little bitterness there. And again, since that time, it looks like he's just kind of giving the Yankees the cold shoulder. Now, notably as well as a big cog in that 2019, Mark Teixeira was also not present, and I don't think there's any bad blood between Mark Teixeira and the Yankees there. So it could have been a thing. Now, it looks like the night before, the Friday night, looks like Gardner's kid was playing in a football game in South Carolina. So, I mean, for him to attend that and to have to take a red eye maybe overnight to New York, again, because the ceremony obviously was very, very early in the day in New York the next Saturday. Could he have made it? Would have been their flight there? I don't know. And again, does he want to rush there for that? Probably not. And if you look at Brett Gardner, look, 2008 came up with the team. Yes, he was part of the 2019, but was he really a main cog? Was he really? I mean, he was part of the team. He got his ring there, but he wasn't really one of the main guys there at the time. He was still kind of a bench player, kind of working his way in there. He kind of really maybe cemented himself years after that, and then maybe his last few years, him and CeCe Sabathia were kind of the team leaders there as Derek Jeter retired, and of course it was years before Judge would be named the Yankee captain. So those are the two elder statesmen. That's kind of when Brett Gardner became Brett Gardner. 2009, yeah, he was there, but he wasn't really a main cog of the team. So is it really such a big deal that he wasn't there? No, but it is kind of interesting that it seems like he was a little bit bitter about the way he left with the Yankees. And you saw this a little bit with Bernie Williams. Remember, Bernie Williams had a pretty decent 2006 season with the Yankees, and then when it came to 2007, now Cashman didn't offer Bernie a contract, but he offered him a spring training invite, which is like Bernie's like come on, look, I won the 4 championships here. I'm Bernie Williams, I've been with this organization forever, and you're just going to give me an invite there. So I can understand Bernie feeling a little disrespected there and kind of opting out. And again, it took years before he officially retired, and this situation was a little similar with that. Now, if we want to look at Brett Gardner at the time, and we look at his stats in the last 2 seasons, I don't think the Yankees really did him bad there. Now, in 2020, this is the strike-shortened season, he only hit .223. Now, again, that was a short amount of time, so I'll give him a little bit of break there. But then in 2021, again, his last season with the Yankees there, had a full season, he hit .222, so again, about the same. 10 home runs and 39 RBIs in 140 games. Now, the good thing about Brett Gardner, if you ever look at his stats, I mean, he would play almost every game, like 140 games a season there. So he was gritty, always had good defense, again, never hurt, played a lot, played the whole season there. He was durable. But look, towards the end there, obviously, it was getting to the point where I don't know if he could carry it anymore. And when he went to get like 37, 38 years old, I think it was okay. It wasn't the Yankees did anything wrong by letting him go and say, look, it was a good run, but at some point, you have to maybe get a younger player or upgrade the talent at that position, especially an outfield position there, and especially at the 22 Yankees, 21 Yankees there. Again, the offense was not that good at all. You got to make some upgrades there. So I don't think Cashman did Brett Gardner dirty there. And for him to kind of be bitter about it, I don't think so. In fact, if you look back at the time, now Gardner had a player option for $2.3 million that he declined. Now, if he would have taken the option and the Yankees would agree to it, the 2022 contract would have been worth $7 million. So come on, at that point, you're Brett Gardner, you're 37 years old, you just hit .222 there, you're not worth $7 million. You could make the argument, maybe yes or no there. He always had the good defense, he always hustled, played hard, stuff like that, but you can't be paying $7 million for a 37, 38-year-old that's hitting .222 there. And again, his power, which he had a little surge there in 2015, 16, 17, remember, he kind of corrected his swing and kind of upcutting the ball ball, hit a little bit power surge. It kind of looked like that kind of little resurgence of him was gone there. He was about a 10, 12 home run a year type of guy at that point there. Again, not worth $7 million. So instead, what the Yankees did, they bought him out for $1.15 million. I guess he felt spurned by that, and then of course that was the end of the contract. But again, he could have opted for the player option there, but he declined it, and the Yankees just bought him out, and that was the end of it. And it seems a little bit bitterness towards the organization since then there. So I don't know, Gardner's kind of he's not a social media guy. He hasn't really been around a bit. Again, and if you remember, the Toronto Blue Jays were kind of kicking the tires on him in 2022, and he looked like he didn't want to play anywhere else. So, look, it just didn't end well there. Maybe at some point he does come back. He shows his face around there, but I don't think the Yankees did him dirty. I don't think Cashman did him dirty. And in fact, they kind of probably carried him a little bit longer than they kind of should have there out of respect. So, I think maybe at some point he should bury the hatchet. We'll see what happens. And getting back to that World Series Classic game against Detroit, game the Yankees lost, I'm sure you heard some of the fallout with that. And of course, the local team that was in it was the Staten Island team. Unfortunately, they got eliminated. But it was their coach who had a little bit, some words to say about Aaron Judge. Again, the game that he felt like, Judge and, give his team enough love there. And he kind of sputtered off his mouth a little bit, sort of like, who do they think he is? And it's sort of like, they should, we pay their salaries, we give them their attention, and he doesn't give us any love back there. And it was kind of like this throwing Judge on the bus there. I've never heard someone really being this aggressive about him. Now, the gentleman, his name, this is the Staten Island South Shore Little League team. So the coach's name is Bob Laterza. So he was the guy who kind of made the comments initially. Now the Yankees kind of just blew him off and didn't even respond to him, didn't even acknowledge it. And it was just kind of weird because you saw before the game. The Yankees were riding on the bus with kids, and Yankees, kids all over the place, and players interacting with kids all over the place. So this happened as one team since they were the New York team. He felt like, hey, we should have gotten a little bit more love. We should have gotten a little bit more attention. Okay, all like that. But the whole thing was kind of ridiculous, and it was like Aaron Judge, who, look, we all know has the All Rise Foundation. And look, I don't know Judge personally, who no one does, but he seems like he does a lot of stuff for kids, a lot of stuff for charity. So if there was some situation where it just didn't work out, I'm not going to put that. I think Judges earn enough credentials where it could have been some logistical situation or just whatever didn't work out there. But I don't think Judge goes out of his way to spurn somebody. And the guy's like, well, he didn't turn the wave to us, and it's just like, what is this guy talking about? So apparently, he did speak with the New York Post, kind of clarified and walked back his statements a little bit, saying, no, I don't feel like the Yankees feel entitled and stuff like that. He just felt, we were like the New York team, and we should have an opportunity maybe to meet Judge, especially because Judge is the hot ticket item right now there. And again, in the game, looks like Judge didn't wave to them. Oh my God, what a tragedy. But we saw the whole game like that. And plus, even before the game, they did have some of the Yankees, of course, Cole, who didn't start the game, Volpe, he was going around, as well as Boone. They did meet with some of the Staten Island kids as well as some other teams there. But you had like 20 other teams of kids in them, and they're trying to get to all these kids. You're not going to satisfy everybody. Okay, yes, you're the New York team finally. Yes, that's true. But if they're not going to set it up logistically where you can meet them when they come off the plane there, and there was all this back and forth when the Yankees got there, when they got there, and they were able to really find a time for them to exclusively meet the Staten Island team. But to kind of put Judge on blast like that, I think it was way out of line, and I guess probably why this guy tried to clarify his statements a little bit there, and it kind of feels like he feels he's entitled because maybe goes, hey, we're the Staten Island team, we're from New York, we should get the love from Judge like that. And look, Judge is playing the game there. Maybe he's worried about the pitcher. Maybe he's worried about the team lost the game before, and he's like, hey, we want to win the series. And the Yankees ended up losing the game in the series, but nevertheless, Judge might have 20 different things on his mind at the time. Not to say, hey, you know what, I got this game, but where's the Staten Island team? Let me look in the fans in the crowd there for the Staten Island team. So I just think it was a bad look on that coach there, and the guy's been getting pretty much blasted for doing that, and I think that's probably why he wanted to have this, have the conversation with the New York Post and kind of clarify the statements a little bit. And really, if you're a Yankee fan, or if, unless he's a Met, he could be Staten Island, he could be a Met fan, so that's what probably could have been. But let's say if you're a Yankee fan, why would you do that? First of all, and second of all, look, Judge is having this great season right now. Why would you want to put that out there, mess with his head? I know Judge is a professional and he could deal with it, and it looks like really Judge hasn't skip a beat because even after this happened, he's still hitting home runs left and right. But does Judge really need this right now? You're winding down to the season. He's maybe chasing 62 or 63. Maybe he gets near 70, 73 there and kind of have a really interesting season there. Do you want to put this out there and mess with Judge's head there? So bad look by that guy. Cool look by Judge by saying cool with it. But again, this guy was just a big loudmouth. So that's the episode. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see what Judge does in September. But don't worry, I don't think he'll press.